Hey everyone.
Okay, thanks, Lina.
You submitted a pull request recently, right?
Yeah, so this pull request is here. So we are working on Slack integration to create a hangout that allows us to schedule hangout for CodeBuddies direct from Slack. Let's walk through the code.
Before that, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Gaurav. I am from India. I am full stack developer. I have been working since 2013 as a full stack developer, and my main stack is React and Meteor.
Cool, awesome. How long have you been working with Meteor?
I've been working with Meteor since I think it was on 5 version 0.5, I guess. Yeah, it was very long time. Hilarious. How are you? I'm good. All right. So you can see that CB Jarvis replied. So this our code is actually running on Meteor server, and the Slack is sending message from their server to our server, and we are responding. So let's create Hangout. CB Jarvis. So that's how you create Hangout. The command is create Hangout, and the second parameter is actually date. So maybe tomorrow at 4 a.m. All right. And the last parameter is title of your Hangout. It would be learn coffee is good.
Nice.
Oh, reply, come on. Okay, so we have a Hangout scheduled. Here we go.
And it also sends you a link if you click on that link.
There we go.
It looks like you're taken to the details page of the Hangout where you can edit.
And we have another command, CB Jarvis, to list all the active Hangouts. Hangouts. So that's how Jarvis works. That's a very good question, actually. You know, the problem was that I was trying to create a Hangout, but I had this mobile. So I was trying to create Hangout from mobile, but it was a bit hassle for me, like to go to open web browser and then go to CodeBuddies and log in again. But logging using Slack from your Chrome browser was a bit difficult, you know, because you are already logged into Chrome Slack application inside your mobile, so you have to go back and forward. So I was just thinking maybe there should be some way to create Hangout from Slack. Is it possible or not? So I just started discussion over Slack, and it turns out yes, we can do it. So yeah, like most people always use Slack.
Yeah.
I mean, so maybe why not? Even this function, we created this Jarvis just for Hangout, but I think we can control every single feature from the CodeBuddies, like maybe schedule a new discussion or get more comments from discussion or anything.
Did you have any experience working with the Slack API before?
No, I haven't had any experience. It was first time.
Cool. Can you walk us through the process of how you got started looking at the Slack API and thinking about maybe even whether this feature was possible in the first place?
Yeah, so initially, actually, I had this idea of how to use webhooks and web APIs, but I was not sure about if Slack has that kind of feature. But since Slack, I mean, of course, Slack has, because many people were creating boots. So I went to their documentation and see what kind of API do they offer. So, and I found that they had some kind of workspace app that they were working on. So I dig more into their documentation, and I mean, I find that, yeah, we can do it.
Did you look directly to webhooks?
Yeah, actually, I went to web API first. And the web API was actually just for reading information from Slack, but not for the subscription part. I'm trying to find where it went. Okay, let's hold on. Just let me log your apps, CB Jarvis. Okay, so we have event subscription feature. So basically what this event subscription feature does is every time when some users send any message here, from Slack channel. Then Slack API send this message back to a web URL that we earlier set here. So it will be our server's endpoint here. So I'm using ngrok here for testing purpose. It's a very cool tool you can use to make your local host available to internet. That's how we can capture the Slack messages from Slack to
any local
website.
development environment.
Yeah. So it's like if you are running your application on your local host machine and you want to make available this machine to all over the world over internet. So this is the tool that you need. This is the email subscription. You just set your endpoint here. It performs some authentication using tokens, and after successful authentication, you are ready to receive incoming message. There is another tool, Postman API, a Postman tool that you use to test web API. So it's kind of similar. So I use this tool to see whether I can use Slack API. And it was a like lot of local testing before I actually write the code. For example, I just simply started the CodeBuddies app here and created this URL. So it was like a step-by-step procedure. So after setting this URL, I was successfully able to receive every single message from Slack to our own Meteor server. So next part was to check if the message is coming from a Jarvis, or because every time if any user send any message like hey or hi, anything, every single message goes to our Meteor server, but we need to check whether this message is coming from Jarvis or not. So next part was to decide the format of the message that we will use. Easiest solution I found was to use comma separated values. Like the first value should represent the command or action that you want to perform, and the next other like a parameter of that command. So when you mention CB Jarvis, this send message to our server with specific format, which is it contains boot ID. Boot ID is actually user ID of Slack user, and every single Slack user get this ID. So the CB Jarvis also get its boot ID. So like in this case, it has the U6, this one. So to check whether the message is coming from Jarvis or not, I use this boot ID to recognize a message and parse the other message. Like we have more, if you look into this webhook file, the first code is like to check the token. It's the authentication and verification part. So initially I set up this verification part and then moved to event subscription part, because Slack can send any kind of message to here. Like it's even if Slack boot send some message, this also get sent back to our server as well. So we don't want to hook any message from the Jarvis.
Those lines are making sure that we only capture the messages from the bots.
Yeah. And after we successfully know that, okay, this message is coming from boot, then we have another code here that processes the event. The first part is of this processing is parse the message. The parsing is coming from this file. So we have some predefined commands like help, how are you? So after parsing, we know that, okay, this is what the user want, like create hangout or list hangout. And we have simple if else condition here, like if action is create hangout or list hangout, then we perform the particular action here. Like for creating hangout, we have this function we call webhook.create hangout. And inside this create hangout, we have some validations. So the first part of the create hangout function was to know the time zone of the user, and when you know the time zone, it's the second part is to convert the date to the time zone. And also we need to make sure that the user is exist on CodeBuddies app, because there are possibilities that some user maybe not present or deactivated from the CodeBuddies, but they are still on Slack. So this code makes sure that the user is also part of the CodeBuddies.
Cool.
This code here checks for initial version. We also add some constraint to not allow user to create more than 5 hangouts per day, because maybe if we will give this power to user, they will create unnecessary hangouts.
Yeah.
Then I use this movement.js to convert time zone, deal with different time zone and convert date.
Mm-hmm.
And the final thing is prepare data and create hangout directly. When I was looking into code, I found that this code base already has a Meteor method to create hangout, but this method actually, let me share. What was hangout methods? Yeah. So this was the method. It creates hangout using Meteor methods, and the problem was is that this 4 lines, it checks if the current user is logged in or not, and then it go ahead and create hangout. But so I cannot use the same code to create hangout from Slack because it requires users to be logged in.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to refactor this code and move this inside helper function so I can reuse this code. And at the last Slack API, this is the wrapper for their web application, their web API.
Yeah.
You can simply call this Slack API post message, channel, and reply message. So it will simply send back the message. It was simple HTTP call. Chrono for date parsing. Initially, I implemented just for start date, but then moved this to use duration as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's inside message parser. So initially your message comes here inside this message.
Could you click on files changed very quickly?
Yeah.
So that we just see a quick overview of what was added and what was deleted.
Movement time zone, yes. So I use this movement time zone to parse the time zone.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one package and chrono node for date parsing.
Cool.
This is the helper created for code reusability.
Mm-hmm.
I never touched any code inside this. Like it was, I think, yeah. I mean, there are some great opportunities here to clean this code. Like there are very nesting parts here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I will refactor it more. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you just moved all of this code into its own helpers file.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, message parser from JS. Right. This is where we parse the message that the user entered in Slack.
Yeah, we parse message and get commands and the action.
Cool. And use chrono here to figure out the date.
Here we can create more commands like what is the current time or anything like, hey, do I have any next upcoming hangout or anything, like a lot of possibilities here to create more
cool
tasks. And this is Slack API wrapper for web API. You can actually see all the message come down. You can see here.
So these are Slack messages that have been, or
no, it's a connection between database and server. Like let's say get total number. This is the method you called.
Oh, okay.
The response.
Cool.
And subscription. Yeah, this is subscription.
I had no idea. Okay. Yeah, this is awesome.
This is Slack API. Then we have webhook, of course.
Yes.
This is the main entry point for Slack notifications. handle new event, tokens for authentication. This code runs when you set a new API, new request URL here. So every time when you change this code, this specific code runs. Don't do anything with boot posted, yeah. So this is what I was talking. So for example, okay, where is CodeBuddies? So even when CodeBuddies, the CBjar, we send this message also gets sent back to the Meteor server, but we don't want to process this message. So that's why this line makes sure that this message is not from boot.
I see. So if the message is from the bot, then don't
Ignore
do anything
it.
with the message.
Yeah. Process is creating out. There is some documentation here to make sure if someone else will work on this, it's pretty clear for them. And some credentials.
Yep, including the user ID of the bot.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for walking us through your pull requests. Hangouts has been bedrock of the idea for the project since the beginning, like the idea of people coming together to learn spontaneously, right? So I'm hoping that being able to schedule them from Slack will really help bring more people together.